Welcome to the Senior Solutions Friday Agency Call. My name is Joe Johnson. I'm going to be your host. Also here with my co-captain, Michael Mahalik. Michael, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, Senior Solutions Nation. Hope everything's going well and that you are seizing the opportunity of a lifetime, which is the final expense arena right now. It has never been better.
Awesome. Guys, we got a great call lined up for you. Something that a couple of agents have been asking me to do. And as we're hiring, training, and recruiting new agents, they always want to know who the top carriers that we should be selling. So Michael and I put together our top carriers for 2022. I think this is a great topic going into the new year. Today is, what is today's date? January what? The 21st. January 21st is when we're doing this call. And this is a live webinar. So anyway, I think we put together some really good material, and there's some certain reasons why we listed the carriers that we did. Obviously, we got a long list of carriers. I mean, there's a number of carriers we could have listed, and I'll be getting into that here in just a minute. So we're going to continue with our quotes of the week. This week's quote is brought to you by Grant Cardone, one of the guys that I follow, and Grant always says, never lower your target, increase your activity. And that's kind of the whole theory behind his 10X theory. And 10X, if you don't know what that means, if you're not familiar with Grant Cardone is all about 10Xing your goals and 10Xing your activity, doing 10 times the amount of work, increasing your income by, if you're doing 100,000, then increase your income goal to 1 million. And you're thinking to yourself, well, man, that's impossible. How can you do that? You gotta, it's all about multiplication. Grant Cardone is one of the top sales trainers in the nation. I think he's up to, I'm not exactly sure. I can remember when his goal was to reach $1 billion in property, which I know he's already succeeded, but he didn't do that by himself, Michael. He hired people. He's got a team of people that surround him. He didn't get the jets and the helicopters all by himself. He's got a huge team of hundreds of employees. So as in the insurance business, you want to 10X your income, you want to 10X that. Well, the easiest way to do it is perfect what you're doing and then duplicate yourself and hire other people. That's the only way you're ever going to be able to 10X your income, is to hire other people. You're not going to be able to do it just on your own, for sure. So with that, talking about the activity, I thought I'd put up this little pie chart. Hopefully you can see the pie chart. Before we get into the actual topic of today's call, one of the things I wanted to discuss with you is just in regards of what I personally think are the keys to being a successful life insurance agent. Okay, and I've broken it down into 3 components as a pie chart. The pie chart, what I think accurately represents what's, let's say, not necessarily what's most important, because the 3 topics are important, but the pie chart is broken down. Sorry about that. Let me mute my phone. The pie chart is broken down is representative of being successful in what's going to influence your income the most. Okay, and it's broken. One is prospecting, your daily activity, getting out and seeing people. That's one of the components. The other components is how well do you know your product? Okay, are you just winging it, or do you actually know the products? And the third component is being able to do a proper in-home presentation. And the reason why I left this blank is because in your mind, I want you to be thinking right now, think to yourself, Michael, think to yourself, which of these components would you, or which of those pieces would you plug in? Which would you say is most important to your income? And again, it's prospecting, it's presentation, and it's product knowledge. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to fill in the blank. I'm going to tell you which ones I think
we're on the same page, though. Yep.
are most important.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I personally feel, and this may not be like exact, but minimum 70% of your income, 70% of being successful and being able to provide for your family is going to be based on your activity. I've always said this, is that what you do daily defines you. In other words, your personal daily habits, what you do daily, that's who you are. And in order to be successful and to reach those high incomes, prospecting, your daily activity, your daily prospecting habits are the single most important thing that's going to be the ultimate dictator of your income. Okay. Now, product knowledge is important. Trust me. They're all, here's the thing. All three components are equally as important, but they're not weighted the same. Does that make sense, Michael?
It 100% does. Really,
it's kind of counterintuitive. I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, but being able to being able to be an effective prospector, and you see I have in-home presentation as being 20%. Being able to give a confident and effective in-home presentation is going to represent about 20% of your income, and then your product knowledge represents about 10% of your income. Now, am I saying that? Here's the part that's kind of hard to, I guess, hard for me to explain. Am I saying that of in your sales career that product knowledge is only 10%? No, I'm not. Having good product knowledge is just as important as having great prospecting skills, and it's just as important as having a good in-home presentation. The representation, the percentages that you see are in representation of being successful in what your income is going to be. You can have you can be the best presenter and you can know all the products inside and out. But if you don't have weekly lead flow, daily lead flow, and your prospecting habits suck, your income's going to suck. The person that the king of activity is always going to be better than the guy who has a lot of product knowledge, but lacks when it comes to prospecting. Maybe you can elaborate on that, Michael. Hopefully that I'm making this making the point clear.
It always in every industry day, Joe, you've got to look at the one key component, the one thing of every industry, and in finance is activity. You could be Tony Robbins. I mean, you could be the most inspiring person around, but if you got 5 leads and I've got 30 leads, I beat Tony Robbins every single time. Because activity is the one thing. Activity actually buys forgiveness. You can barely know your products. You can be mediocre at your in-home presentation. But if you've got the activity, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be successful in this business. Because it's not about starting right in this business, Joe. It's about starting now and getting past paralysis by analysis, which so many people fall into it thinking they've got to be perfect knowing their product knowledge. They got to have that in-home presentation down to a science, and that is such a fallacy. No, it's activity, because this business is, I'm going to repeat this word, experiential. Getting out there, just like playing golf or tennis, you learn it on the course or the court. The same thing in finance expense, you learn it in the field, and that's why activity counts for so much of your success.
It does. Here, at the end of the day, we're not doing brain surgery, okay? And we're not sending somebody to the moon. So if you go out and you screw things up, no one's going to die. Like, you're not going to kill anybody, all right? The other thing too is that by increasing your daily activity and your prospecting skills, by having that being your main focus, how many people are you seeing a day? How many people are you seeing a week? It's just inherently that your in-home presentation and your product knowledge is going to increase and get better as you increase your activity. So anyway, I hope that makes sense.
Joe, before you leave this slide, I need to say, would you go back real quick to that slide?
Sure. Yeah.
As we get into the products, ladies and gentlemen, this slide's going to be used for something else. And Joe, you know what I'm getting ready to say. That big red mark, that's going to be one product you use. As me and Joe have worked with the top performers, the guys doing $300,000, $400,000, and $500,000 a year, that red represents the product that they lead with. And then they have a fallback product, which is a 20%, and hopefully the 10% is your guaranteed issue, or you hope is actually a little less than that. But that
Yeah,
pie chart,
right. Yeah.
top
Yeah,
performers actually represents the amount of carriers they use. We may have 30 carriers, but top performers normally use no more than 3 to 4.
Yeah, I always go out when I'm out in the field, man. I'm taking 3 carriers and three primary carriers and a guaranteed issue. That's it.
Okay, you normally lead with one, you go all the way with that one. Then if you have to fall back on the other 2, you do. But so
Yeah.
very good pie chart.
Yep, absolutely, man. Well, just moving on, guys. This is a live webinar. We're doing this live. It's being recorded. We are going to get it out on our YouTube channel. So if you're checking us out, maybe this is your first time, you just kind of stumbled across the Senior Solutions Agency training video, do me a favor, subscribe to our channel. Certainly helps us out. Click the like button. You can also hit that notification bell, so every time we put out new content, you will be notified and you can have access to our hundreds of videos that we do. If you need help, that's my cell phone number. You can certainly give me a call if you need help coaching. Or if you're not part of Senior Solutions and you are interested in contracting opportunities, just give me a call. You can also go to our website. We've got a free training website that's available. It's open to the public. It's not password protected. You can go in and check out all the content that we make public, and that's at seniorsolutionsagents.com. So, all right, Michael, so let's move into our top carriers of 2022. This list may or may not surprise people, but we'll get going. First, we're going to cover just 2 guaranteed issue companies. These are the ones that we do primary, most of our business with. First one is going to be Gerber Life. Why do I like Gerber? Well, I've been using Gerber for a long time. They've always kind of been my go-to company. I've always just the ease of doing business. The other thing too with Gerber, I've never come across a client who didn't know who Gerber was. So you have instant brand recognition and positive name recognition. I've never had anybody say, "Oh, Gerber, oh, they suck," or I had a policy, somebody had a policy with them, they didn't pay the claim, or it's positive name recognition. Super competitive pricing. They're always right up there at the very top. They're typically always beating out AIG, so I like them. They do accept the credit card. So if your client doesn't have a bank account, which is preferable, they will accept any credit card or debit card. You can put in the 16-digit number, and of course they take the Direct Express card too. They have great customer service. I can tell you they're one of the few companies as an agent. Like if I have clients that call me, say, "Hey Joe, I have a new credit card," or I switched bank accounts. Two ways I can handle that for the client. One is I can get on the phone with Gerber, do a 3-way call, or I can just get all the information from the client. All right, Mrs. Smith, who's your new bank? Oh, you're banking with Chase now. What's your account number? What's your routing number? And again, just to confirm, your payments are coming out when? On the 3rd or the 1st, depending on when they get their Social Security. I can call Gerber as the agent, as long as I'm the agent of record, and I can switch their bank account information on my own without having to have the client on the phone. And
Joe, that is powerful. I've known you for a long time. I don't think we've just discussed before, and that's a game changer, especially with our
probably, yeah, probably not, but they're just, they do their death claims really, really quick. The other thing too, which kind of cool about their agent portal, is I've had clients that have called me and say, "I can't find my policy." I can log on to the Gerber agent portal, go into documents, I can pull up their policy and print it myself and mail it to them.
Wow.
So that's just kind of, so I mean, they're, not everybody talks about Gerber, but I like them. The other thing too that's kind of cool is their e-application is easy to do if you're face to face. If you're doing it over, they're not so friendly with telesales because you do if you're doing telesales, your client is going to need a valid email address to do a DocuSign. Well, not technically, it's not DocuSign, but it's, they need to be able to do that. But if you're face to face, you can actually you can pull up the Gerber app on your phone, and you can actually do an application on your phone if you don't have a tablet. Of course, you can use a tablet or a laptop. And their paper application, it's a two-page application. So with Gerber, I do write a lot of paper applications because it's just quick and easy. I can write it in, I come home, I can either fax it or I can email it to them and get that submitted. So definitely like Gerber for those reasons. Next one is Great Western. I really like Great Western. They have a little bit of a niche. One of the niches with Great Western is that they go down to ages 40 for guaranteed issue, where Gerber starts at 50. So there's kind of a 10-year gap. That's really where I use Great Western because their pricing is not the best. So if you have someone who is in their 50s or 60s, I'm typically always going to go Gerber over Great Western just because Gerber's going to beat them by 10 or 15 bucks a month. But when you're in that kind of zone, when they're between the ages of 40 and 49, if they haven't hit 50 yet, then they are going to be competitive because Gerber doesn't even have a price on it. They're very easy to do e-applications if you're going to do face-to-face or telesales. So if you do telesales, you can do the e-application, then you just call into a phone number, do a verification. Super easy, takes about 5 minutes, and it gets, obviously gets approved right away. The other little niche with Great Western is that they do have face amounts up to 40,000. So where Gerber only is capped, I believe, at 25,000. So if they have that client that's looking for that bigger face amount, again, especially for those younger people, if they're in their early 40s but has significant health issues, chances are they're probably going to live into their late 60s, 70s, or 80s. They may want a bigger policy just because of the cost of funerals later down the road. So 40K is nice. The other thing too is their Great Western is why a lot of agents write them, even though they're pricing higher, is their chargeback policy for not just lapses but for death claims. You have as long as your client makes it on the books, Michael, for just 9 months,
yeah.
Even if they pass away in month 10, you don't get charged back.
Joe, that is powerful because we all know a company that starts with the letter A and ends with the letter G. They used to have a 2-year chargeback period.
Well, they still do, but it's prorated now.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
that is powerful, that 9 months.
Yeah, so as far as how they pay, I mean, it's still graded to the consumer. You know what I mean? It still has a 2-year graded period. So if they die at 10 months, they're going to get back their premiums plus 10%. But at least you, the agent, you're not getting charged. You don't have to pay the 10 months of commission back. The other thing too that a lot of agents don't know is that Great Western actually has first day coverage available. It's called their ultimate death benefit. And if you look on their application, I think it's just like a small little section. It's like one question, but it has like a bunch of different little things in there. And if they can answer no to those questions, they can get immediate same day coverage. They call it the ultimate death benefit. And Michael, I've used that I actually got a guy who was in his, I want to say maybe his 50s, but he had actually had a heart transplant.
Wow.
But it was like 10 years, maybe it was 10 years ago, but like 10 years since he had the heart transplant and was doing well. And he was able to answer no to all those questions and got first day coverage. The other times I've used them for people in their 40s that are like, they're, relatively healthy, but like super obese, because there's no height and weight chart on that. So anyway, if you're not familiar with Great Western, certainly check them out. It's a great company. A little bit pricey when you get into the, the older ages. If they're in their 50s or 60s, that's when I would definitely would use Gerber.
Hey, Joe, before we go forward, one other thing about guaranteed issue, and I think this is where Great Western may shine. Doesn't Gerber and AIG both pay as earned, while Great Western will give you an advance, or is that still true, Joe, with the guaranteed issue?
I think they do. I think they give a little bit of an advance. It's not 9 months, but I think they do. I think might be able to get a 6-month advance with Great Western.
Yeah, that's one thing we always stress to agents. You are normally paid as earned, but really with that type of business, you want to be paid as
I
earned.
like as earned. I like my, it's
serious
like
help.
a residual check every month. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Back when I was a full-time producer and I sold a lot of Gerber, it was my check was $1,800 a month from Gerber.
Wow.
And it was like clockwork, just because I'd put all those deals, after selling them for several years. All right, let's get into our standard issue carriers. The other thing too is I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 carriers and 1 honorable mention. The thing, I'm not ranking these carriers like, hey, this is the best one. I'm just giving you the top 4 that I think that you should consider leading with, and I'll kind of tell you the reasons why. Number 1, not ranked number 1, but just the first one that's on the list for whatever reason, no particular reason, Liberty Bankers. I've been using Liberty Bankers for quite a while. Like them, they're easy to do business with. They got a very simple agent portal. They're good for tracking your business. They have very competitive rates. If you're using FEX Toolkit, you'll see that Liberty Bankers is usually in the top 3 as far as pricing. So very, very competitive. The other little niche that they have, Michael, is that they have issue ages all the way down to 18.
That's huge.
So it really is, man. So if you've got those clients that have some issues, in their 40s or, below the line of some of the other carriers, maybe they have chronic asthma or COPD, that sort of thing. Maybe they're a little bit on the heavy side. Definitely check out Liberty Bankers. They have great rates, and I really like the fact that they go down to age 18. Also, Liberty Bankers does true Social Security billing, and that's going to be a common theme that you're going to see for all of our standard issue carriers, is that they all offer Social Security billing, which I think is crucial.
That's
if you're
powerful.
new,
Yes.
It really is, Michael. I mean, if you don't know what true Social Security billing is, what that means is that the insurance carrier is actually drafting the day that they get their Social Security. That's why it's so important as you're writing applications, you make sure that you find out when they get their Social Security. And if they get for example, if they get their Social Security on the 3rd, and your client says, well, yeah, I get it on the 3rd, but I don't want my payments coming out until the 5th because I got bills to pay. I'm just telling you, that's a lapse waiting to happen. Always coordinate their premium payment with when they get their Social Security. This year alone in 2022, there are several holidays that fall on a Monday that fall on the 1st and the 3rd. So as an example, if you're on Social Security and you're getting your Social Security on the 1st or the 3rd, doesn't matter, and that falls on a Monday, and that Monday is a banking holiday, your clients are actually getting their Social Security check on that Friday, 3 days prior. Okay, so if the company you're doing business with doesn't do true Social Security billing, they're not drafting the money until Tuesday. It may not come out till Tuesday or Wednesday.
That money is gone by Tuesday.
It's gone, man. I mean, people that are on Social Security, and especially if they're use Direct Express, it's not that uncommon for people that are lower income to get all their money out. And they may be under the assumption that the insurance already took out the premium payment. So when they see they have, $800 or whatever their deposit is in there, they may be under the assumption that you already took your money. That's why true Social Security, I think, is really a must. The other quick thing with Liberty Bankers, they have an easy e-application with an instant decision. So it's a no before you go. You can do, if you're face-to-face, you can do their e-application. If you do the e-app, it's simply you log into the agent portal, you do the e-app, you get your approval. There's a quick 5-minute phone verification that you need to do. It's really simple. The other way you can do an application with Liberty Bankers is you can do it completely over the phone. You don't need a computer and there's no paper. You call in, you talk to the representative at Liberty Bankers. It's actually not, it's a third party, but they do the entire asking the questions, banking information, beneficiary information. They get all the information over the phone and they give you a hard approval. The other thing with Liberty Bankers, they do have a height and weight chart, but it is absolutely the most liberal for any company that has a height and weight chart. I give you an example. We just had an agent that got a guy done. He was Michael. He had 5'9", okay. So male, average height, 305 pounds, with COPD, and we got him same day coverage.
Wow.
So they have very, very liberal on their height and weight chart. And their underwriting is good. They are very liberal. If for internal cancer, they only have a 2-year look back, one of the few companies that only has a 2-year look back for internal cancer. COPD, you can get same day coverage. Bipolar, they're bipolar friendly. You can get preferred if they have bipolar disease. Insulin use, they're very liberal with insulin as long as the insulin use was after the age of 25 on the application. So they're good for your insulin dependent diabetics. They also offer a product that we don't use that much, but they do have it, and it's a single premium whole life. And that's great, Michael, whenever you come across a client that is giving you the rebuttal, hey, I've been saving for this, I really don't need it. I've got $10,000 in the bank to cover my final expenses. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, that's great. You've done a great job of saving. But out of curiosity, if I could show you a way to turn that $10,000 into $20,000 instantly today as a death benefit, plus your family wouldn't have to worry about taxes or probate, is that something that you would be interested in finding more information about? That's the lead in. What was that?
You'd have my attention immediately if you said that.
Well, yeah, first of all, if your client has $10,000 in the bank, chances are it's probably not in the money market and it's not in the stock market, and they're probably earning less than 1%. Okay. So because interest rates are so low, that $10,000 that they have in the bank, 10 years from now, it's still going to be 10,000. It's not growing in interest. The safest place to put it would be into a life insurance premium where they only make one premium payment and they have an immediate death benefit. And for God forbid, there's some emergency that they got to get their money at, there's cash available that they could get their money back if they needed to, I guess is what I'm saying. And then lastly, with Liberty Bankers, they do have a agent bonus program. I'm not going to get into a lot of details on it. You can go to their website and check it out. But basically how it works is that you're eligible to earn $30 per policy, per net policy. And a net policy are policies that make it through the free look period. So if you send a policy in, let's say you did 15 policies with them for the month, and 2 fell off as an example, the clients canceled immediately, then you would have 13 net policies. You do have to have it to qualify. You do have to have at least 10 policies per month to earn any money. So if 1 month you did 10, you would qualify. If the next month you only did 7, you're not going to earn any money. Okay, but they do have that. They do have that available, which is always nice. Extra money is always nice. In addition to that, they also have carrier trips too. So you have a chance to win. You can get money, and you can also win a carrier trip as well. So moving on, unless Michael, at any time, if you need to interrupt or have a question, please feel free. But our next carrier is Royal Neighbors of America, which we've been using for quite a few years now with a lot of success. I get a lot of positive feedback from a lot of agents that love Royal Neighbors, how easy they are to do business with. The other thing with Royal Neighbors, just like Liberty Bankers, they do true Social Security billing. So they're taking out the premium payment when that client is getting their Social Security. They have an e-app with an instant decision. It's a super easy e-application process. Agents really love it. Liberal underwriting, get this, Michael, they have no height and weight chart.
Wow.
So literally, I mean, you can have a person that's 5'5", 500 pounds, as long as they're, not confined to a wheelchair and they're still able to move about, they could potentially be eligible for preferred. The other thing, which is great, is insulin dependent diabetics with neuropathy, same day coverage.
That is powerful. Wow.
So with a lot of carriers, in fact, not only, I believe you can still get preferred. They're bipolar friendly. They're blood thinner friendly with a caveat. And the reason why blood thinner is important, guys, is there's a lot of companies out there that are not blood thinner friendly. If a client is on any type of blood thinner, like what is it, Eliquis or Warfarin, a lot of companies, most of the time, clients are taking that medication because they've had, heart surgery, they had a stent put in, or they've had a stroke, right? So a lot of companies will look at that as treatment. Even, let's say you had a guy who had a heart surgery, had stents put in 5 years ago, and they're on Eliquis. Some companies will consider that to be treatment and will decline it or make it modified or graded. With Royal Neighbors, the majority of the time, as long as the episode, whatever they had, let's say it was heart surgery or stroke, and they've been on those blood thinners for over 2 years, they'll consider that as maintenance versus treatment. And that's kind of a big deal. So, so they are, for the most part, blood thinner friendly, unless they just got prescribed it. Okay, that's going to be a knockout. They're also very liberal with neurological diseases, meaning like schizophrenia. We've had clients, Michael, taking the client will tell you the medication, you never heard of it, you look it up and it says, oh, this is a antipsychotic medication, okay? Because they're crazy.
Yes.
Royal Neighbors is your company, okay? They'll, so if they're on heavy duty, psychotic kind of medication, chances are you'll be able to get them preferred with Liberty Bank or with Royal Neighbors, provided, they haven't been institutionalized or hospitalized. You know what I mean? Agent support is good. If you need help, you can call in, talk to somebody. You can get a risk assessment done if you need to. The other thing too is they have another product that we've had quite a few agents write, and it's their Jet Issue Whole Life. Now it's for lower face amounts, it can be simplified issue, but it is more of like a fully underwritten product, but it is super competitive. But it has issue ages is down to 0 all the way to 80. So
Wow.
if you have that client, who's 70 years old and just like amazing health, goes to the doctor, no major things, they could get up to $5 million of whole life, okay, if they can afford the premium. And for juveniles, you can go down as low as, I believe, as 10,000 for the younger cases. So that's their Jet Whole Life. guys, do not get this confused with being a simplified issue final expense product. It's not. So if your client has, ever had a heart attack, or, they're insulin dependent diabetic, it's not going to get approved through their Jet Whole Life. That's reserved for the healthier people. And like Liberty Bankers, they also offer a single premium whole life that's extremely competitive. So, Michael, anything you want to add about Royal Neighbors of America before I move on?
Other than the guaranteed issue, Joe, they're really a one-stop shop. I've used Royal Neighbors a couple times, but I think I may be looking at them a lot more closely now in the future. A couple things, ladies and gentlemen, you need to be focusing on here. First of all, the true Social Security billing, it will make you or break you, so you will make sure you have that carrier. The other thing I think we don't put enough emphasis on is to know before you go. I will talk about solidifying a policy when you can leave the house, Joe, saying, Mrs. Smith, you're approved. There's going to be no wait period. We know you're approved. So that's huge. Plus the fact that if they do have younger children, the Jet Whole Life product, that makes this a very powerful contender in our world.
Yep. I'm with you. I love the know before you go, man. That's awesome. Our next company making the list, coming back strong, is Transamerica. We did a training video on TA a couple of months back that said Transamerica is back, and they are. They're making a lot of reasons why you should be leading with them. One is their pricing. If you have a client that's relatively healthy, or, even if they have some issues like COPD, bipolar, things like that, you're going to notice on your quoting tool, on your FEX toolkit, Transamerica, chances are going to be coming up number one. They're usually not rated number one for pricing if your client is going to be eligible for preferred. So it's always nice to be able to have that carrier in your portfolio when they're number one. The other thing too is their issue ages, 0 to 85. If you notice some of those other carriers, their cutoff was 80. They only went to age 80. Trans goes to age 85. Now we don't get that many clients over 80, but I've written a few that were right there at 85 and got them approved and they took the policy. And again, going with the theme of true Social Security billing, in my opinion, probably nobody does billing better than Transamerica. I'm just telling you, they got it down to a science, man. I get very, very few lapses with Transamerica. Typically, the only time I get a lapse with Transamerica is when the client has closed their bank account. Okay. The other thing too with Transamerica is they do accept a direct express card. What's different about Transamerica when a client, or they will also accept credit cards too, credit or debit cards. So if your client, get this, if your client, I've had this happen before, Michael, where the client says, yeah, I have they can't find their checking card information, like their account number and routing number, but I have a debit card. Can you just use the debit card number? And typically we could never do that before. With Transamerica, you can do it, and it's just as good as getting their account number and their routing number. But what's a little bit different with Transamerica, instead of putting in the 16-digit code and the expiration date, there's a little app you download on your phone. You put in the credit card number and the expiration date, and it's going to give you a token code. So when you do your application, you put in that token code, and then they use that for the billing. What's kind of cool about that is that credit cards and debit cards have expiration dates, right? Well, when you use that token, you don't have to worry about it. There's still, because it's going in as a reoccurring payment, even if the direct express or the debit card expires, Transamerica is still able to get the money out of the account because it's a recurring transaction. So they do a really good job with that. They have an easy e-application with, I'm going to clarify on this, they have with an Insta class rating, not an instant decision. Okay, now they're working on their instant decision. It's just not out yet. What the instant class means is that when you do the e-application, Michael, they're going to, in the background, they're going to be running the RX and the MIB. It's going to come back and give you a rating of what they are going to qualify for. So it's not technically like a hard approval, but it is going to tell you whether they're going to be approved. If they do get approved, if it's going to be preferred, standard, or graded. Okay.
Yeah.
And if it comes back preferred or standard, 95% of the time, it's going to go through with no problem. Okay. What else we got with Transamerica? They have great riders. Their accidental coverage is great, and they have an awesome child and grandchild rider that you can add onto the policies. Liberal underwriting, they'll take COPD, standard, same day coverage. They'll do diabetic neuropathy as preferred, as long as they're not on insulin. If it's insulin and they have neuropathy, you still get same day coverage. You get standard, it's just not preferred. Okay, if that makes sense. Clarification on that. And historically, Transamerica has always been blood thinner friendly. So typically, today, even in the past, when I had a client that was on blood thinners, like, oh, Transamerica, they have a dedicated agent support team. So if you need help with Transamerica, my advice is don't call the 800 number. There are inside sales representatives designated for each section of the country. That's who you want to figure out who your inside sales team. And Michael, you'll contest to this. Those guys are awesome, aren't they?
It is amazing. I tell you, Joe, I got them on the call in less than 10 minutes. Jesse out in Denver, Matt out in Denver.
Jesse,
they are
yeah.
the best of the best.
Yeah, they are really good. In addition to that, Transamerica, besides being really good at final expense, they also have other really good products. They have their Trendsetter term product is great. They have a Trendsetter Super and a Trendsetter with living benefits. They also have a whole life product that's called Lifetime Whole Life, which is very simplified issue, and I think it's written at a table 4, so it's pretty competitive and easy to do. And then they also have a index universal life policy that's extremely competitive that we write a lot of business with that too. All right, let's see, we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is the last one, Prosperity. Let's see how we're doing on time.
Joe, before we move forward, I've loved all the products, but there's one product, and love them or hate them, I don't see how you can be a final expense professional without Transamerica. And yes, do we get pushback? Yes, they used to be called Trans Amendment. Me and Joe's biggest advice, do not use the paper app. I love e-apps, Joe, because they're dummy proof. You can't mess them up. So I know if you've been in the business a little while, you probably already have an opinion of Transamerica, but Joe and I are both going to tell you, to be a final expense professional, you really can't be one right now without Transamerica. Love them or hate them, because they just do things that other carriers do not.
Yeah, I like TA, but you're right about don't even try to do a paper app. It's horrendous. E-apps only for Transamerica. All right. Last carrier, number 4, I'm only highlighting 4 carriers today, is Prosperity. Man, you search the internet. If you go to YouTube and Google, top final expense carriers, and you watch the videos from all the gurus, Prosperity, chances are going to be on their list of top carriers, and they do a lot right. One of the things with Prosperity, unlike some other carriers, is that they have the same whatever your comp plan is, whatever percentage you're listed with Prosperity, you're going to get paid the same comp on all their plans, whether it's the level, graded, or modified, and for all ages. Okay, some other carriers, like typically with most carriers, if they have a cascading, a 3-tier product, usually they're going to cut your commission on the lower tier, like the graded, not with Prosperity. They do true Social Security billing, again, which is a must. The other thing too, which is a little bit different on Prosperity, is that they do fast pay, Michael. They pay on issue, not first draft.
Yes.
So with Prosperity, if you make a sale and they're getting approved, you're getting paid typically within 24 hours. With a lot of other carriers, you're not getting your commission check until after they've drafted the first premium. So that's kind of a, for a lot of agents, that's kind of a big deal. How about this? They accept the Direct Express card, which is great. In fact, I think they accept, you guys will have to verify this, so don't hold me to it. I think they accept all credit cards.
Yes.
But I know they accept the Direct Express card. Here's one that's kind of a game changer, right? Is tobacco. Only cigarette smokers are counted as tobacco. How about that, Michael? So your cigar smokers, I don't think anybody smokes a pipe, but how popular are e-cigarettes these days in vaping? Even the older people are vaping now. With the other carriers, vaping is the same as cigarettes, not with Prosperity. Your dippers, your chewers, if you live in an area where you get a lot of, especially the men that like their Copenhagen or their Skull, whatever their Red Man, whatever they're dipping or chewing, Prosperity doesn't care. You get non-tobacco rates. Again, only cigarettes count as tobacco. They have liberal underwriting. What's kind of unique about Prosperity, where you're going to see a lot of people are going to be able to fit into that product, and why a lot of agents use Prosperity as their primary carrier is because they have a level product, which is very competitive, but then they also have a graded and modified. Now the graded is their better plan and modified is the worst. So how it works with graded, Michael, if you have a client that has, let's say they have some health issues, but they're not quite like guaranteed issue, you may be able to get them with Prosperity graded. And in the first year, the client is still eligible. They get 30% of the death benefit, which is a little bit different. Year 2, they get 70%. And then after the 2 years, it's 100%. So there's like a kind of a 2-year waiting period, like a guaranteed issue, except they're getting 30 and 70.
That's a true graded product, and really what the definition of graded is, Joe. And I know these carriers use these terms interchangeably, but that is a true graded product.
Yeah, they do. And then modified is what kind of like most carriers consider to be graded. It's a return of premium. So they're modified in the first year, they get 110% of the premiums back if they pass away. If they make it into after year 1, during year 2, if they pass away, they'll get back 231%. So a little bit over double what their premiums are. And that's pretty good for a modified plan. The other thing too is that they have another product that they call Prime Term 100, and it's a term product that goes up to age 1, not issue age, but it's good. It expires at age 100. And trust me, the clients that are going to get approved for this probably ain't going to make it to 100 anyway. But it's almost guaranteed issue. There's only a couple of health questions, and they don't run an MIB or a script check. You just need to be honest on this product. But they'll even cover things like HIV, Michael.
Wow, that is unheard of.
Yeah. So how many times it doesn't happen that often, but I do get agents that will call and say, "Hey, man, I got this person. They've got HIV. Got to go guaranteed issue." Not necessarily. You may be able to get them. It is a graded product, but you may be able to get them something other. You may be able to get them a higher face amount with this, again, almost guaranteed issue term product. So they take HIV and they take other high risk classes, and they go down to age 40 all the way up to age 80. So definitely, if you don't have Prosperity, definitely one that you'd want to put into your belt there. The other thing too, which is pretty cool, besides all that stuff, how about a 10% agent bonus, Michael?
Wow, they are really wanting our business.
How would you like to get an extra 10%? Now, obviously, we're recording this video. It's we're January 2022. This is subject to change. They've had this for a few years. So, if you're watching this 5 years from now, maybe that doesn't exist. But as of today, it exists right now. And the major qualifier is you got to do at least $20,000 a quarter with them, which 20,000 a quarter would be roughly about $7,000, right? 68, 69, we'll just call it 7,000. If you can average about $7,000 a month, you should be able to hit that $20,000 in a quarter. So they pay it out quarterly, which I kind of like about that bonus, Michael, is it's not a year-long thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so if you don't hit it one quarter, then you can hit it hard the next quarter and catch up.
That
so
is powerful.
Yeah, they're doing four payouts. And let's see if we have time. Okay, we got 7 minutes left on the call. We got to do an honorable mention. Okay. Can you guess? I know we didn't talk about this. Can you guess who the honorable mention is?
Is it the drugstore company?
No, but although that would be a good one. I'm
Or
thinking of the mutual company.
Mutual of Omaha.
Yeah. Although CVS, you can make a case for CVS too, that I really like their product. I just can't figure out why companies like Aetna and Mutual of Omaha, Michael, why can't they figure out true Social Security billing?
They're billion-dollar companies. They have all the resources. They could do it. It really missed me as well, Joe.
If Mutual of Omaha had Social Security billing, they'd probably be my number one company.
Because as far as brand wise, they are probably the strongest brand across America for life insurance.
I love them. I mean, I love Mutual of Omaha, and if I was doing a list of my top 6 carriers, they're going to be in there every time. The only reason why they're not making my top 4 is because they don't do true Social Security billing, and I get those what do they call it? The conservation emails.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's because we just do a lot of business with them, but it just seems like I have more clients fall off the books with Mutual of Omaha than other carriers. Not because they cancel their policy, just because of the billing situation. They don't take the money out when the client gets their money, and then they run out of money. They don't have the money in the account. Then they don't have enough money to do a makeup payment. So, but other than that, I mean, definitely you want Mutual of Omaha as one of your carriers that you do business with. I'm not saying don't use them, but just for me, Social Security billing is a big deal. The one area that Mutual of Omaha really does shine is their graded product. It hands down, if you have a client that, and with Mutual, just real quick, it's only a 2-tier product. It's either level or graded. It's not 3-tier like some of the other companies. So their graded product, you can fit quite a few significant health issues into their graded. And when it comes to pricing, hands down, it's the best. So I'll put someone with Mutual of Omaha graded if they fit before I would go guaranteed issue. Oh, here's another niche with them too, is that on their graded product, there's no tobacco rating. So it doesn't, so whether they dip, chew, smoke, or vape, the graded product, the pricing is the same for tobacco and non-tobacco. Okay, so that's pretty competitive. And not to pick on Mutual of Omaha, but just 2 other things I don't like about them. One is the random PHI. If you don't know what a PHI is, that's a personal health interview. Mutual of Omaha is notorious for calling clients after the fact, even after they've been approved, and asking them random health questions.
The 1 out of 10 normally, Joe, if I remember right, used to be the ratio.
That's what they say, but it's random.
Yes.
So I know agents that have submitted 10 applications in a month and had 6 of them go for PHIs. Okay, so it's not, they say it's 10% of their business is going to get a random PHI, Michael. So it's not 10% of the apps you write, it's 10% of their whole portfolio. So you may get lucky and submit 20 apps and never get a PHI. You may be unlucky and submit 10 apps and get 5 of them that get PHIs. Does that make sense?
You know, that's what we always suggest to agents, Joe, that they always do the aptical interview if they're using Mutual of Omaha. It's much better for you to be there with them and handle the problems over the call than it is for them to call them later.
Okay, but here's the catch with Mutual of Omaha, unless it's changed and I can double check. You can only do, so with Mutual of Omaha, there is a optional PHI call where you can call in and they'll do a phone interview, ask them all the questions, and you'll get a hard approval right over the phone. Okay, now if you do that, there's never going to be they're not going to get a second call. But you can only do that with a paper app, Michael.
Wow. Okay,
so if you do an e-application, so even if you do an e-application and you get the instant decision, they could still get a PHI.
Goodness.
I hate that.
I agree. I would too.
So if you're gonna use Mutual of Omaha, my personal recommendation would be, and this is the one situation where I'd say do a paper app. Do the quick paper app, call in, get your hard approval on the spot with the PHI number. And then when you get home, all you got to do is scan it, email it, or fax it in, and you're done. You're getting paid like the next day because they do. By the way, one positive about Mutual, nobody pays faster.
Agreed.
Like they're the next day. And the only other kind of negative thing about Mutual, we don't do a lot of telesales, but they're definitely not telesale friendly. If you're going to do a telesale with them, you can do the e-application, but then the client gets an email, they got to open up the attachment, they have to apply, they have to once open it up that they've gotten the application, then they got to open something else to do their signature, or you can do DocuSign. It's just kind of a mess. So if you're doing telesales, I would try to avoid using Mutual of Omaha because of that. Other than that, honestly, and I hope it's not coming off that I'm bashing Mutual of Omaha, because I love them. I love everybody there. I like the company. There's just a few things I wish they could improve upon. So any last words, Michael? We're exactly at about an hour. So any other little comments that you'd like to add before we end the training call?
Joe, every week I tell the agents obviously to go back over the call and listen to it again, because you'll pick up more nuggets, especially with this call right here. These 4 carriers, ladies and gentlemen, can change your life. But hopefully you've heard very clearly the Social Security billing. There's things in this business, as we both know, Joe, called agent killers that put the agents out of business. One of the biggest things is chargebacks, and Social Security billing prevents that. So the 4 carriers that Joe went over all have that Social Security billing function. So please, folks, but I will go back over. I get a notepad, everybody, and this weekend, grab yourself a cup of coffee, maybe on Saturday or Sunday morning, and listen to this video and take notes. And then, of course, pull the carrier guides on each one of these products, because they can really change your life. So phenomenal call, Joe. I know myself, I got a lot of golden nuggets from this call as well. So great.
Awesome. All right, man. Thanks, brother. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. If you need help, please reach out. I'm always here to help you. Step up your game. If you need help with underwriting, whatever you need help with, please reach out. I'm here for you. All right. God bless everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Joe.
Yep.